Welcome to another episode of the Journeys of Not So Ordinary People podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm Dr. Dave. Oh my goodness.
Whoa.
I think we have been spending too much time together. My name is Dr. Joe Hamlett. And again, my co-host is Dr. Dave Peltz. So how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Dr. Dave Joe Hamlett.
Wow, I've never had that happen after all these episodes. But again,
Uh,
welcome. If this is your first time tuning in, thanks for being here. And if you've been a part of our audience over this last 3 years, thanks for coming back. And as you can see, we have a guest today. That's been a common theme of ours for the recent episodes. So we want to welcome our guest, Dr. Christine Herring. So she is going to be with us today. And so hopefully you'll gain something from her perspective. So if you would go ahead and introduce yourself, tell the audience who you are.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Christine Herring, and I am a solopreneur. I like to say a solopreneur as opposed to an entrepreneur because when you're running a business by yourself, can be very solo. So I am the co-founder and CEO of Herring Seminars and Consulting, and also sister company FlexCom. And I'm super excited to be joining this podcast today. And hopefully, well, not hopefully, I know that I will be giving you some very valuable insights.
Wow. Well, thanks for that. And thanks for joining our podcast today. Well, with that, we're going to just jump right in. And so we're going to start with Dr. Christine and ask her about our topic. So, our topic today is failing forward. So, what can you provide our audience with as far as nuggets on how to overcome failing forward, or what does that really mean?
Well, so I'd like to start with saying I love the topic of failing forward because as I think about my journey in life, that is how I have always gotten to the next step. And it was by failing forward. And so when you say nuggets to overcome, I don't have any nuggets to overcome because I don't ever think that as long as we are wanting to grow, both professionally and personally, that we can not fail forward. When I think about I didn't say that I'm an educator by trade. So I started in the elementary classroom. And when I think about the lessons that I used to give my students, one of the things that I always told them is that we learn through mistakes, right? But often in education, people are punished because of mistakes. You make a mistake, you don't get a good grade, what that doesn't seem like something that's honored, you feel bad about that. And so one of the things that the head trash that I had to get rid of was that it was through my mistakes that I was going to learn. And so I had to be willing to get out here and do at least one brave thing every day, even if it meant jumping off the cliff and growing my wings on the way down. And so, what I would say to the audience about failing forward is that it is about understanding that making mistakes is part of the journey, and you have to be willing to make the mistakes so that you can learn from them, assess what went wrong. I have this mantra. It's called 4 A's, and it's awareness, action, assess, and again. And so raising your awareness, okay, I've made a mistake, or I've done this. I've raised my awareness about this thing I want to do. I want to start a business. I'm going to raise my awareness. I'm going to do some information and do some research. I call that being in the laboratory. But then you got to get out the lab. That's where you take the action. And so you have to take some action, and then you take the action. It's not all going to look pretty. It's going to be messy. Some things are going to go really well. Some things are going to fail miserably. But then you have to assess that action. Okay, so what went wrong? Maybe I need to go back into the laboratory. Maybe I need to talk to someone. Maybe I need to do some reading. Whatever that is that you got from doing that assessment, then you have to do it again. And it's that iteration that you continue to do over and over and over and over again along that journey of what I like to say, your journey towards greatness and joy.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
Christine, I loved. Sorry, Joe. I'm just so excited about this.
right.
I love the four A's. I want to know more about that. Can you tell our audience? And I love the concept of head trash, and that.
That's where I was going to. I thought that was very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Tell us about head trash. What is head trash?
Head trash is all that I can't, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I don't have enough skills, I don't have enough money, I'm not prepared, all of that, all of the reasons why you can't or won't do something. And I've learned along the way, even when talking to my children, you can talk yourself into something or you can talk yourself
Mhm.
out of something. And depending on what it is, the head trash, it allows you to start telling yourself a story, whether and most of the time the story is not true. You go up this ladder with this story and you got all this stuff that you built, this big mountain of negativity, why you can't move forward. And that has been an obstacle that I have been fighting my entire life. Even now, even having success in my business, I remember my first really big contract and thinking, well, it was sort of a fluke. It's not going to happen again. Then it happened again. Then it happened again. And I had to start looking at the fact that it was not just by accident, it was all the things that I did prior, all the preparation, all the work. It wasn't an overnight success. It was a long journey of work and teaching and being a student and all of those things that propelled me to where I was. And that's what the head trash is. And like you can't ever stop failing forward. I don't think you can ever stop having head trash. But I think there are things that you can do as soon as it starts to creep in. One of the things that I do is I go, okay, I'm telling myself a story. Is this story accurate? Do I need to have more information? Or do I just need to pause here and just be still?
That's very similar to, I think, or mine, I think, is very similar to that critical self reflection. Just always taking stock of where you are, where you're trying to go. And I think that's part of that head trash. So you're right. It's always there. But one way to overcome it is to continue to revisit it and to make sure it's accurate, make sure it's not leading you down that path of negativity. So, but the first time when you said head trash, so that really stuck with me as well too. So yeah, that's very cool. Again, to think that we are our own worst enemies in a lot of cases. It's us. It's all in our head. We see all these things that are not, true or actual. But that's what happens when we start getting in our head. And you're right. It's there all the time, regardless of how much success you've had or think you've had. It still kind of flares up. But the other thing I wanted to touch on really quick too is when you talked about, maybe growing your wings as you jump
Mhm.
off the
Yeah.
cliff. And I think that's a very powerful statement because a lot of people, me and Dave did this when we started thinking about the podcast. We were trying to make sure everything was right, everything was perfect, and it took us a long time to just jump because we were trying to get to talk about the equipment, the software we need, all these things. Like you said, all these things we're trying to talk ourselves out of, and then we just finally looked at each other and said, "Let's just do it." And that's how we overcame. We kind of jumped off, and in the first few episodes didn't even get aired just because it was not pretty. But if you go back to, you know, season one, episode one to today, it's evolved. It's gotten better.
Mhm.
But you're right. That's where we were with that, not wanting to jump off the cliff without our wings, and we finally just did it. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I think of it. I'm sorry, go ahead,
No,
Dave.
I was going to say, yeah, that what Joe just said was so important about, what you said about jumping off the cliff and growing your wings. I think a lot of people, including ourselves, were afraid to jump off the cliff and just keep falling until we hit the bottom, wherever that was. And I I I love the way you put that because there's a deliberateness to that jumping off. It's an acknowledgement that I have to do something, and that first step whether it's off the cliff or into the deep end of the pool or whatever, is a deliberate choice for me to do something to change my life in a positive way. And therefore, your wings, you will find your way. The wings, growing your wings, and then you're learning to fly and soar. You only touch the ground when you're ready to at that point. So I think that was very, very powerful. Way to, a very picturesque way to describe a journey.
And I'd like to add to that. You touched on it a little bit, Dave, is that my wings always didn't grow as fast as I wanted them to. So I might be on my way, thinking I'm flying, and I realize I only have half of one wing and I'm down. And sometimes those, when I hit down, sometimes I hit hard. And it was whether I was willing to get up or not.
Mhm.
And that's one thing that I can say that I've always done my entire life is I've gotten up. And each time you become a little less fearful, and it's like, okay, now this time I know I need two wings. All right, so what didn't I have that last time? And it goes, everything for me goes back to those four A's. And what I often learned along my journey is that I had to get out of the lab faster than I wanted to, because it's so easy to stay in the lab. The lab is our comfort zone. The lab is where we can just, say, okay, I need one more doctorate. Okay, I need to get another certification. I need,
Yeah.
all of these things. Like, I'm really good at being a student. So I want to sit under and be a student because that's my comfort, and I can learn, 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 learn. And personal development is so important to me. But what I learned in running a business is that nobody will know who I am or what I do if I only stay in the lab. So I have to
Wow.
get out of the lab. I have to connect with people. I need to go to networking events, which, by the way, can be very uncomfortable for me because I'm not that my leading communication style is not one that enjoys meeting people, and I like to learn about people, but more in a one-on-one or two-on-one. But you go in a networking event, there could be hundreds of people, and so that can be a little draining for me. So I've had to find like things to do. One of the brave things I'll do when I go to a networking event is I'll say, okay, I'm going to meet five people when I go here. I set a goal for myself. I'm not leaving until I've met five people. But then when I go in, I'm vulnerable. And that first person I meet, I say, hey, I'm doing a brave thing today. I have to meet five people because meeting people can be a little uncomfortable. So you're number one. And people love to help, right? So they'll say, oh, okay, after we talk, they'll say, you know what, you need to meet so and so. They'll go and they'll introduce me and they'll say, you're her number two because she's doing a brave thing today. And so, that's getting out of the lab and getting into into the grass and the thick of it.
That's very cool to include other people. Even through my education journey, that's one of the things I did. When I was in the Air National Guard, and I'd go to my monthly, guard drill meetings, and I'd share with them where I was in my, process, so that they could, when I come back the next month, they say, "Hey, so how are you doing? Where are you at? How far did you get?" And I think that's very helpful when people, because they want to cheer for you, they want to help you. And I think that's a very cool approach to do something like that. I never thought about that as far as, the networking piece, because I do meet a lot of people as well. And I'm like you, I like being, one-on-one conversations, and maybe two. Yeah, I thrive. I'm great. But you're right, when it comes to figuring out who those people are, start trying to, analyze or scan the room to figure out, okay, who is my next person I'm going to go meet. And so I like that approach, that the way you did that, and it makes it fun and less intimidating. So that's a very cool way to introduce yourself to people.
Yeah, I'm still excited to learn about the other A's in your four A's.
So we have awareness. I like I said, I think I look at that as being in the laboratory. Action. You got to get out here and do something, and then assess. What went wrong. That, like I said, that might drive you back to the lab, or it might be just a tweak in something that you need to do to figure out, like, so why didn't this work? Why did my wings come out when I jumped off that cliff? What do I need to do so that the next time I jump, I'm ready. And then, start all over again because it never stops. And if you're on this journey of being, the best that you can be, I always want to make sure that I'm maximizing my potential. And so on that journey of maximizing my potential, there's always something new or better or more innovative or more creative. And so this 4A's just sticks in my back pocket because it's my go-to and it's easy. It's easy for me to take a look at and do some inventory on where am I in my journey.
Mm. Yeah,
Wow.
that is so powerful. It really is. I mean, it's a like you said, it's an easy tool. We all love new tools and gadgets, and you know, and that to me is just stepping up the game and then just putting another tool in our toolbox to be able to pick through to find the right tool. One of the stories I've told a few times is you've got tools in your toolbox, but are you picking the right one? Because it, yeah, this it's that's I mean, you can pick a sledgehammer to drive to put a screw into the wall, but that's probably not the best choice of of tools.
Yeah, I like the whole tool analogy as well, just because, like Dave said, we all have different tools in our toolboxes, and sometimes they're more than what we probably need. So it's also a good time to take inventory every now and then. But identifying, and I think that's what kind of separates people from being successful or failing and not being able to overcome is not identifying those tools that are going to help them get to the next level, and just having a framework like you just described is a way to help you to constantly kind of think about those things instead of just randomly saying, okay, what do I need to do? It's almost like, and I think you touched on it before, your goal, you said your goal is to meet 5 people at this event. Just having that in the top of your mind instead of just going in randomly and just being there, but you have and Dave said it too, that you're uh, being your intentions, or you said,
Mhm.
I can't remember what you said.
Deliberate, I
Deliberate.
think.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yes, yes. So just having that in mind, knowing when you're going into it, is also helpful. Instead of we talked about this before on the podcast, just randomly going down a path, not really having an idea of where you're going to end up because you're going to hit roadblocks, barriers. So if you haven't identified that path, you may intend on going from California to New York, but you don't map out a plan. You basically just get in your car and start driving, and you end up down in Texas or just south or north of the border. So yeah, just having those tools in place that you can rely on, reflect, and come back to, I think is very important.
And when you say tools, it just made me think of another tool that's really important when in just your analogy that you just gave, Joe, is that I know in mostly every job that I've ever had prior to owning my own business, that organization had a mission statement. And
Right.
even if I didn't know the mission statement off by heart, I had the big idea of the mission statement. And
Right.
some years ago, that started me to thinking about what is my own personal mission
Yeah.
statement. Like I know,
Yeah.
like, and for me, that's my why. So like, why? If you don't know why you're doing something and have a clear understanding, like your mission, I think of it as what am I going to do? My mission is what am I going to do, or what is it that I want to do, and what's the impact that I want to have, and that equals my mission. And so creating that mission statement for yourself is so important. And if you ask people, most of us would probably say we don't really have a mission statement
Mhm.
that's on our own personal mission statement for life. And so I encourage people all the time when I'm doing my trainings, and most of my trainings, I start off, what is your why? Why have you chosen the career, the field, whatever it may be? Why are you here today? Because if you're not real clear on that, then nothing I'm going to say is really going to matter or make a difference. And you're not going to, you're going to just keep wondering, like you said, Joe, you might have intention to get here, but if you don't know the why, when things start getting really hard, it's going to be hard for you to continue and move forward.
Yeah, Christine, I'm going to back up for just a second because you said something that's got stuck in my head, and it is you said sometimes you just need to make minor adjustments, and I think that's where people get stuck as well because people think that when something goes wrong, they have to make a huge, big change, major change to fix whatever they feel didn't work. And sometimes it's just a little tweak, just a small little something that you can do different that makes all the difference in the world. And it doesn't have to be a big, major, painful change. It can be just a small tweak, and then that does it. It's like a minor adjustment on the, well, I'm going to date myself, on the radio stations when you're trying to find that right channel. It might just be something small that gets you right where you want to be. And I love the piece about the personal mission statement.
Mm.
That is, man, that's got to be a topic for a show sometime. I'm telling you.
I like that you brought that up, Dave, because sometimes we get stuck in overlooking that it's the small, consistent things that have the opportunity to have huge impact. And
Yep.
so we overlook that, and then a mind overwhelmed will freeze and do nothing.
Mm.
And so if you're overwhelmed, if it's too big, if it's too much, you're going to just shut it out. But if you can have one small little thing, you can at least keep moving the needle forward. And to
Mm.
me, that you can sum that up in progress, not perfection.
Mm.
And I'm glad you finished it off with that, because that's really what it amounts to, because me and Dave talk about this all the time. As long as you're doing something to move the ball down the field, move the needle in a positive direction, then you're succeeding, you're winning. And so you're right, that is often overlooked. We always look at that big shiny thing that we're trying to achieve, and not really, taking a look at those small incremental wins that we're having daily or on a regular basis. And I fell into that trap as well, especially with my education journey. I was just looking so far down the road that I was not even taking stock of all the things I had done to get to that point. And even today, I still do the same thing in some cases, where I'm like, okay, well, this is where I'm trying to go. It's going to take me a long time to get there. And again, to your point, not really, taking a look at those minor adjustments or minor things that I'm doing that are making a difference. So yeah, I'm glad you finished it off with uh, just that it's the small pieces that lead up to that big thing that you're trying to accomplish.
Progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I mean, and to Joe's point and to your point, or to your point and Joe's point, that little bit of progress, it reminds me of when Joe and I started the podcast. It's like we talked about it for months and debated it and deliberated on it, and we finally just decided we have to do it. And like Joe said, the first couple will never ever ever see the light of day. It'll never see a screen, never audio, nothing like that, because we were just trying to script it, and it's like we made it bigger than, and it's not downplaying anyone else's podcast, but in our own heads, we were making it more complicated than it needed to be. And for us, we wanted it to, we decided on how we wanted the podcast to go. And once we figured that out, it became easier for us. And when we took that first step, and then the next step, and then the next step, we did it episode after episode after episode. And it's kind of funny. We celebrated, what was it, our 20th or 25th
Yeah, the
episode? And we were
20th
like,
or
oh, we did it. Yeah. And it's like, and now it's like, then we celebrated our 100th. They're like, yeah, we did 100. Now it's like, wow, those seem kind of like small numbers in the scheme of things, because we're not looking back at what we'd accomplished. We're looking at, hey, what's the next big one that we can
yeah,
hit, because we've been consistent
milestone.
for so long. And to Joe's point, every week we just did it. We just, maybe it was our own personal therapy with each other, but we had a great friendship that really evolved out of it. And now it's like it's what we look forward to every week, is to do this, because we found that sense of purpose that we used to have a sense of purpose, and then I think we lost it along the way. The military builds you to have a purpose, and when you're not part of the military, sometimes it's kind of hard to find your community again. And this gave us that sense of purpose again and that's really where our mindset changed dramatically this third season is, instead of it being a hobby, we're turning it into something much bigger than we ever thought it would be. And just that little bit every week that, maybe we just talk for 10 or 15 minutes, but that's that little bit moving forward that we're talking about.
You know, Dave, you said something that made me think of another tool or mantra that I have. You said something to the effect of comparing to other podcasts.
Mhm.
And I have found in failing forward, there has to be this true sense of being your authentic self,
Yep.
because comparison is the thief of joy.
Mhm.
And when you look around and you see what others are doing, you can start to tell yourself that story that I need to do it this way, or the way I'm doing it
Mhm.
is not the right way, or it's not good enough, it's not big enough, it's not it doesn't have enough followers, or I don't have enough business. Whatever that story you're telling yourself, and if it's going up against comparing to someone or something else, your joy in what you're doing is going to be zapped,
Mhm.
because you can only be you. And I have found that I have to be the best me that I can be. And what I have to say, how I have to say it, how I set up my trainings, how I talk about communication, how my book was written. There is someone in the universe that's going to resonate with that style with me. And I need to be me and work and focus on that, and not look at all the things that are happening around me. And I don't mean not to be able to learn and grow from what others are doing, but I have to still take it and make it mine, because if it's not mine, that's going to shine through.
Mhm.
Yep. Well, we say that all the time on the podcast that we've done all these episodes, and it's not to give you a blueprint on how to do things, but if you can take bits and pieces of it and then put it into your journey, whatever that looks like, then that's your idea of success. That's what you come to believe is important to you, and that's what I try and tell people all the time, that you can take bits and pieces of all these different things, from mentors, from training, from anything you've learned. It's how you apply it in your journey that matters, and it goes back to what you just said, your authentic self. You take all these things, and that's what I'm happy about, is the fact that I've done so many different things that I can put things in there when I need it or take it out. And so we've talked about this too. A lot of people have all this knowledge, experience in their head, and sometimes they don't recall it. And so that's what you talk about the trash in your head, but I also have a lot of other stuff in my head that I can go back and recall on. So I think that's very important for people to know, that yeah, take what you can from other people or other things, but apply it in ways that impacts you or helps you. So thanks for reiterating that again.
We've got just a couple minutes left. So, Joe,
Yeah.
uh,
So again, it's been a pleasure having you on here, Dr. Christine. So any last or parting words for our audience out there?
Yeah, I just like to say that I hope, after listening to this podcast, that people realize that no matter where you are on your journey, just keep failing forward, stay in the game, don't stop. Take those 4 A's, keep it simple. Keep it simple, because when you overcomplicate it, you get in your own way. So get comfortable in your skin, keep it simple. And one final plug, that's a tool. I am an author, and I wrote Mind Jukebox, a playlist, a mental playlist for inclusive leaders. And it's all about helping you put those right things in your mind, because our mind is like a jukebox. And sometimes we have to remix that negativity with some of the positive lyrics that are out there in abundance. And so if you're interested in purchasing a copy of my book or the box set, you can visit hearingseminars.com/mind jukebox. And I just want to say thank you for having me as a guest today. It's been a pleasure.
Well,
Chris,
thank you.
yeah, Christine, this has been such a joy to have you on the show. You brought up so many awesome points and perspectives. I mean, this one was just, if this was an action movie, it'd be action packed. So thank you again for taking time out of your day. I mean, I love this one. This was a great one.
I concur. Again, when you said we had a few minutes left, I was like, oh man, that went by really fast. So, yeah, you did bring up a lot of positive things, a lot of things people can hopefully take back and put in their toolbox. But it has been a pleasure having you on the podcast, and we look forward to possibly having you on the podcast down the road. But again, thanks for joining us today.
I love that. Thank you as well.
All right. Well, I failed to mention this at the very beginning, since I kind of messed up the whole intro, but we are Journeys of Not So Ordinary People podcast, and we're the personal, professional, and career development podcast. So, again, if this is your first time, thanks for joining us and tuning in. Or if you've been an audience member for a period of time, thanks for coming back. And remember, if you're getting something out of this, or if there's somebody out there that might benefit from this content, please pass it on, share it, have them subscribe, you subscribe. But we just enjoy doing this. I know we've said it many times, almost every episode, but this is what keeps us going. Hopefully, again, you can take something out of this. And now we have excellent guests on here that they bring another perspective that you can hopefully impact your journey positively. So, with that, we just want you to continue being your not so ordinary you.